anxiety is one of the largest issues, not just within a spiritual awakening journey, but within this whole reality as well. So today I'm going to be talking about what anxiety means to a spiritual awakening journey. And at the end of this video, I will share with you some powerful methods in order to neutralize your anxiety and step into your power. Although we all have our own unique life paths and specialized features to our individual journey, some things are universal. Like, do we all buy crystals and then go use them as tax write-offs? Of course we do. The same goes for anxiety. It's an element of the human experience that we will all run into regardless of whatever phase of consciousness that we're in. Anxiety can be used as a sacred rite of passage, or it can become a debilitating, all-encompassing and all-consuming aspect to our lives and our journey. We can identify with our anxiety to such an extent that it becomes a part of what we consider our self-concept. We can consider ourselves an anxious person, or we can disown our anxiety to such a strong degree that we don't even want to identify and take ownership of our anxiety in order to start working with it in a semi-conscious way. Either of these two approaches build up and strengthen our neurosis. Neurosis and anxiety are heavily connected with one another. Neurosis is mainly expressed through anxiety. If anxiety wasn't playing such a major role as an extension of our own neurosis, it would still be a part of the shared human experience. It just wouldn't be the core foundation and the underlying reality that's behind our own unique journeys. Everyone treats anxiety from a distorted worldview. We label it the root cause of every single thing, both known and unknown to us, and yet it still remains this mysterious culprit. Modern medicine has become so clueless that they diagnose anything they can get their hands on as anxiety without actually understanding what it is. Although anxiety has different contributing factors to it that are unique to the individual who is experiencing anxiety, such as our history of trauma, our gut dysbiosis, our SNPs, financial stressors, suppressed intuition, genetic patterns, a doom imprint, and so forth, the sensation we experience of anxiety is only ever communicating two things. On the physical plane, it's communicating to us that we need to make a drastic change in our life. And on the metaphysical plane, anxiety is the ever-persistent manifestation that we need to transform our consciousness into a more awakened state. Not just awaken out of the phase of consciousness we are currently in and into another, but fully awaken to the capacity that this reality can offer. A lot of the times we could feel that our spiritual awakening is what provoked our anxiety, or at least what enhanced it. But in reality, the baseline experience for a being who is unconscious or who is in the sleep state of consciousness is anxiety. It's either anxiety or a state of numbness. And you would have to be either one of these because a person who is in the sleep state of consciousness is not awakened to their true nature or to their true being. And so they're in some kind of neurosis. It's just another form of it. It's another way of saying sleep state of consciousness. So you could look at neurosis as being the sleep state of consciousness or unconsciousness. And you can look at a spiritual awakening journey as coming out of this neurosis, coming out of our laser-like focus of only being our human identity and only identifying with our character. It would be ideal if anxiety were simply to integrate on its own after the preliminary phases of awakening. However, anxiety is what highlights to us anything that is out of balance within our own body-mind complex. Not only that, it's also trying to communicate to us that the world's body-mind is out of balance. So anxiety is communicating two important messages to us. The first message is this world and our body-mind are both completely out of balance. And the second message is we need to awaken. Only by awakening will we be able to come into a state of empowerment, which is actually what our anxiety is trying to push us into. Another way of saying this is that the reason we're anxious is that we haven't fully embodied our awakening, and that our anxiety is the manifestation of feeling disempowered and not awakened. When we are entrenched in anxiety and our own neurosis, that's actually trying to push us into embodying our power, That's why we feel so uncomfortable and that we're stuck in a rock and a hard place. Because with anxiety, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you stay asleep, the anxiety is going to build up. If you go in the direction of awakening, it is so overwhelming to the degree that it can be completely experienced as anxiety. But with this direction that we're moving in, of empowering and embodying our own awakening and our own true nature, what's happening is that that's going to lead eventually to the integration of that anxiety. Whereas with remaining in a sleep state of consciousness and then depending on medicines or on substances or coping mechanisms to all sustain us within this state of anxiety, where we're not getting to the root cause of it, but instead we're putting band-aids on top of a broken leg. All of this realm is only going to enhance and exacerbate more anxiety. Furthermore, the body-mind is going to become so exhausted and depleted from exerting so much energy and trying to maintain its current level of consciousness, meaning it's not going in the direction of where anxiety is trying to push it into, which is our own empowerment. So if we stay in this disempowered state of our own spiritual amnesia or neurosis, and then we try to maintain it, it's going to become exacerbated because anxiety in and of itself is only meant to communicate to us that the world is out of balance, we are out of balance, and that we are not in our power. Once you are in your power, once you know thyself, you will be experiencing anxiety in a very different way. It's not going to have the same flavor to it as it does when we're stuck as a character inside our own movie script, and that we're only in our self-concept, and that we've identified with anxiety to the degree that now it's a part of our reality as the main character that's over-consuming us. Because once it has served its highest purpose, which is to push us into our own self-empowerment and embody our own sovereignty, anxiety will transform into simply an intuitive hit if something ain't right. It's no longer going to be the lead character and the background music to a person's life. Instead, it's going to arise whenever there's situations in which anxiety is a completely normal response to it, and then it will dissipate again. A lot of times during our spiritual awakening journey, we're told that everything is in perfect alignment and that what we really need to do is just trust the process. And this actually enhances our anxiety because we're in a passive state. And when we're in this passive state and we're trying to learn how to center ourselves, when our intuition knows that we need to be doing something else, that creates more anxiety because we're actually supposed to be learning things and accumulating knowledge. I know that the spiritual community has a mixed reception when it comes to knowledge. A lot of us are being told that we need to unlearn all of the things that we're learning and to throw away our books, and we have this disdain for information. In reality, there are very crucial stages of consciousness where we do need answers, and it's not just all in our head. And so learning things actually is helping us get inside our power. We might even need to know very crucial information about the gut-brain axis because that can be the root cause of our anxiety. We need to be able to discern whether it's useless knowledge or whether it's crucial and vital information that helps us step into our power. And so discernment is going to be learned in so many different avenues. And we could have even more anxiety if we're not following and heeding the call within our own intuition to go seek out those sources, whatever those sources might be. A person can utilize all of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the books, all of the tools in the world, and it still won't matter if what they're eating is causing their anxiety. And that's what's happening like across the board with anyone who has an inflammatory mental response, such as with anxiety. Even if it isn't the primary cause, our diet, meaning what we put in our mouth every day, is one of the strongest contributing factors universally to anxiety. You cannot separate what you're putting into your body from the concept of anxiety and from neurosis because it's all leading to neuroinflammation. And if we're constantly inducing neuroinflammation on a daily basis, then no information and no tools will be of use to us. So in the spirit of this age, nothing feels good, nothing is supposed to feel good, and nothing is going to feel good until we start embodying our own power by awakening. You could think of it like a birth canal. the universe is pushing us into a rebirthing. And if we're not going along with this process, our neurosis is going to ramp up because we are out of alignment with the spirit of this age. And if we go along with this process, it will still ramp up. Our anxiety will still enhance to the point that it has served its most sacred purpose. How are we supposed to feel good? And how are we supposed to not be in an anxious state when we have so much important work to do this life and so much to be able to learn and then unlearn, and then learn and then unlearn? The last thing we need to be doing is relaxing. Relaxing is what got us into all this mess.
At our very core, we are emptiness and we are silence. That is why the highest wisdom is silence. That is why the crown chakra is represented as silence. That is why we fear silence. Imagine a vast emptiness and imagine an open, eternal silence. That is who we really are. Dropping into who we really are is not going to be relaxing at first. But once we make peace with our true identity, more and more relaxation will come effortlessly, even enjoyably, and we will no longer settle for ways to maintain our sleep state of consciousness. Anxiety is not here to teach us how to dream better. It's here to pull us out of sleep.
But the more that we awaken through our own unique paths and our own unique journeys, seeking out whatever tools, information, knowledge, methods there are to accumulate into our empowerment and our knowing, what will happen is there will be a natural ability to be grounded in ungroundedness and to become the center and the eye of the storm. Anxiety has always been a strong part of the human experience. It is not exclusive to this time period, but with the anxieties that we have experienced in the past, they were never a necessary direct call to action to being able to awaken. Whereas in this time period, they are directly manifested as a call to action to awaken. We aren't meant to normalize it, to identify it as a core reality within our self-concept, but rather learn what it's trying to communicate to us so that we can better heed that call, because it's not always going to be communicating the same thing. But if you would like me to make a separate video specifically on when our epigenetics and when our physiology is the main source of our anxiety, let me know in the comments. Anxiety can actually be a tool. It can help us accelerate our own spiritual awakening by flooding us with so much overwhelm that when we're able to face it head on, we pop ourselves out of the avatar or the character that we are experiencing in this lifetime, and we're able to start integrating more information at the level of the nervous system. So one way of looking at this is it can kind of like short circuit us, but in a very positive way, not a negative way. And so when we're short circuited in this way where we have already confronted so much overwhelm that it has flooded us and we've met it dead on, then what actually ends up happening within our body, mind, spirit is that we end up being able to receive stronger upgrades because of the amount of expansion that has occurred within our bandwidth. I hope this has short-circuited your meridians. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakenings. See you next time.